A pastor made a bold statement how he will never follow a poor pastor, and all hell broke loose. There were insults flying all over the internet. Now I don't have an issue with that because people have freedom of speech, but there's something I saw that broke my heart, and I like to share that with you because I have an unpopular opinion about this. You just stay with me while I build my case. Two things I saw that broke my heart. One was a reverend father who used the picture of this pastor and the wife during their wedding, and he said the cake they used is very sure it was made by their choir mistress. Oh, poor pastor. And then again, a pastor on a Sunday morning on his pulpit that he's supposed to be preaching the word of truth to the people he has been called to. He left there and he was demonstrating how ugly this pastor looked when he started ministry. Well, I also have my take on this, but before I dive into it, I want to first address those insulting this pastor online. With your bad habits, if your pastor were to be broke, will you still respect them? Don't kill me yet, I'm only asking a question. Secondly, what example do you think a broke pastor will give to your broke self that will take you out of your poverty state to something better? And then thirdly, don't forget that 99% of the time we become the examples we see. So what example do you want to get from a broke pastor? And remember, one of the true definition of leadership is someone who has been there, came back to take his people there. Just like Moses. I'm not saying a pastor cannot be broke at some point of their life, but staying perpetually broke as a pastor is where the problem lies. If you've been preaching for about 5 to 10 years and I cannot see the God that you preach about in you, then I should question your calling, because God cannot be in a man and you will stay broke. The God I know, he pays for what he orders. Just stay with me. I will prove my point shortly. And for the pastor and the reverend father mocking this very pastor, do you think God will leave this man where he met him? This is a pastor who has been preaching for over 20 years and counting. It's only right that God will take him from where he met him to where he is today. And you must also note that he has done something right for God to bring him from that level you are mocking today to where he is now. In all of this, what bothers me the most is, since when did we get to this level in Christianity where we can no longer correct each other in love? Moving forward, I will give you 3 examples of people in the Bible God met, the instructions he gave them, what they did, and what God made them. But before I do that, I want you to know that God's gifts don't come in full, they come in potentials, but what you do is what reveals the bigger picture. I'll say that again. The gifts of God come in potential, but what you do is what reveals the bigger picture, because as humans, we have a part to play in what God wants to do or he is doing in our lives. Stay with me. Number 1 example was Noah. When God met Noah, he gave him specifications on how to build the ark, what material to use, what size to build. And Noah obeyed God. No wonder it took Noah about 120 years to build the ark. But when he did that, the Bible recorded that by his faith, Noah condemned the world. Meaning, God did not condemn the world, but Noah. But that's a topic for another day. Let's not argue there because that's not my point. But Noah obeyed God's instruction, and look what God used him to save his family and everyone that believed his message. What about Gideon? When the angel of God appeared to Gideon, he called him, "You mighty man of valor." Gideon was a wine presser who was going about his business, and God called him to go rescue his people. God gave him an instruction. If you could remember in the Bible, he already prepared his soldiers for battle, I think 6,000 or 3,000 thereabout. And God asked him to reduce them to 300, how many singers he should go with, the instruments he should take. And Gideon heed to the instructions of God. And that which the angel of God called him when he met him under the rock where he was pressing wine, "You mighty man of valor," became a reality. And Gideon, through his instruction, saved his people, delivered them from the hands of their enemies. And lastly, is one of my favorite characters of the Bible, Moses. If you could remember, Moses was a fugitive who was running from Pharaoh because he killed an Egyptian. Now Moses is a shepherd boy tending to the sheep of his in-law. And God appeared to Moses on the mountain and instructed Moses to go back to the same Pharaoh he was running from. And Moses heeded to the instructions God gave him. And today, we cannot talk about the emancipation of the people of Israel from Egypt into the promised land without Moses, only because he obeyed God's instruction. I gave these examples to let you all know that God can meet you small, but God will never leave you small. God is not a cheat. He pays for what he orders, and that should sink in. Because when God calls a man, the first thing he does is to empower you. God empowers you to do that which he has called you to do. And when you do that through his instructions, the blessings are inevitable. And also, if you check the book of Romans chapter 8 and verse 30, when God calls a man, he glorifies the man. If you check the book of 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 17, when God calls a man, he honors you. It says, "Count it double honor those who labor over us, both in words and in doctrine." Meaning, if you're a pastor or a man of God or in ministry, and you've been doing that for a while now, and you're not experiencing the glory of God, you're not experiencing the honor, the favor, or his light is not shining on every aspect of your life, that means there's a question mark on your calling. Or maybe you've missed something in your instructions, because faithful is he who has promised. I've said so much about this already. If you want to hear more, please do well to follow us on all social media platforms at The Kingdom Advocate. And until next time on The Kingdom Advocate, I remain Prince Umini, the Son at the Gates. Love and light.